Thank you very much, Lukas, and good afternoon, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, estimated members of the press. I am delighted, of course, to be back here in Sierra Leone again, here in Freetown, to present the European Union's election observation mission's final report. As you know, we presented the preliminary report in June when I was here, 2 days after the election day, but the election is a process. So it starts before the elections, during the election day, and after the election days. So it is my honor to present the final report. I will speak about the report very shortly, but first let me express my appreciation to the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation and to the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone for having invited the European Union to observe these elections and for their readiness to continue a fruitful engagement with the European Union. This final report I am presenting today is the most important part of our election observation here in Sierra Leone. This report gives a comprehensive and evidence-based account on the 2023 general elections and offers 21 recommendations aimed at improving the way elections are organized, managed, and conducted in the future. I will speak about the way forward very shortly, but before that, I will give a brief account on the mission's work here in Sierra Leone. Our team arrived in Freetown in mid-May. By the end of May, we already had our long-term observers deployed to all 16 districts of Sierra Leone, where they observed the work of the election management bodies and election preparations. Our observers also observed numerous rallies and met with candidates across the political spectrum. They also engaged with citizen observers, human rights and democracy activists, as well as with journalists. Our dedicated teams of media and social media monitoring were observing how the campaign unfolded in the traditional media and online. So both online and offline. On election day, more than 100 observers went to polling stations in all 16 districts of Sierra Leone to observe the opening, voting, and counting of the ballots. So 100 EU observers. After the closing of the polls, our observers were present at all tally centers, following the tabulation of results. Our analysts were at the National Tally Center when the final results were announced. To sum it all up, in line with the well-established EU methodology, we were on the ground since the start of the campaign. Our observers were present during each and every step of those elections, gathering a wealth of information in the process. These knowledge analyses and first-hand observations are the basis of our final report. I know you all are eager to hear our overarching assessment of this process. First, I would like to stress that these 2023 general elections underscored a clear commitment among the Sierra Leone people to the democratic processes. Citizens in large numbers actively participated in the electoral process before and during the election day with dedication, with patience, and resolve to exercise their democratic right. On election day, voters patiently waited to cast their ballots. Dedicated poll workers strived to ensure a smooth voting. Citizen observers were at all polling centers, and journalists provided regular reports. This was a very strong and encouraging sign. However, there were also issues that we, as a friend of Sierra Leone, observed and are imperative to address. Firstly, political violence shrank the space of political participation. This was observed by the EU Election Observation Mission in at least 6 districts. We also saw disproportionate use of force by security agencies on several occasions. And here I want to stress violence has no place in elections, neither here in Sierra Leone nor anywhere else on the globe. Also, I want to speak about the tabulation of results that proved to be a key issue, a tipping point. The ECSL did not ensure transparency at this very crucial stage of the process. Our observers, as well as citizen observers at the Tally Center, could not conduct a meaningful observation of the tabulation of results. Despite repeated calls from observers, the ECSL did not publish the disaggregated result data. Lack of transparency and limitation on independent scrutiny leaves space for doubt and stains an election. This takes me to the most important part of our final report, the recommendations. The elections highlighted an urgent need for reforms to enhance transparency and inclusion. To build overall trust in future electoral processes, and we as observers and friends of Sierra Leone have identified 7 priority areas where result steps are necessary to uphold regional and international standards for democratic elections and to help democracy strive. In total, there are 21 recommendations, but we found 7 priority areas. Our first 3 priority recommendations advocate for an enhanced transparency in the conduct of elections. The first step would be the publication of the final voter registry per polling station. Our second recommendation calls for publishing detailed procedure for the tabulation and establishing a robust and transparent results processing system. Our third recommendation encourages publication of comprehensive results data per polling stations online. Those recommendations are key trust-building measures. The next 3 recommendations are to fight impunity and to promote the rule of law. Namely, we recommend ensuring safety and security of all candidates, and to promptly hold perpetrators of violence accountable. We also call for an enforcement of restrictions on use of various state resources for political gain, and for ensuring transparency and accountability in campaign finances. The 7th priority recommendation is about genuinely protecting freedom of expression online and offline by removing ambiguous definitions related to the cyber crimes. Those are the priority areas we have identified, but let me speak about some other points, very important observations that we have made. First, we saw positive steps and encouraging legal reform aiming to promote women participation in political life. I want to stress that those are very important reforms. Following these elections, 30% of elected members of parliament are women. However, while the ECSL set up a system to ensure that the new rules to promote women political participation, political parties made efforts to circumvent it. Hence, I encourage political parties to make a reinforced commitment for greater gender parity, which will further enhance women's participation in public and political life. Another positive takeaway from the 2023 elections was the first ever national fact-checking initiative, I-Verify. It was set up to equip voters with the reliable information and to safeguard the truth. Today, when disinformation and misinformation campaigns more and more often aim to distort reality, it's time to join forces and develop inclusive media and digital literacy programs. And here I'm not only encouraging civil society and media, but also on political actors and state institutions, as well as global tech platforms to tackle disinformation and misinformation. It is important to continue working together for a better informed society. Now, a few words about the importance of an independent, non-partisan scrutiny of elections. During these 2023 elections, civil society organizations played a crucial role. They engaged in voter education. They engaged in voter education activities all across the country. They scrutinized various aspects of elections, and their timely reports offered voter reliability and non-partisan assessment of the process. Citizen Observer also conducted a credible parallel vote tabulation and voiced concerns. It proved the maturity and resolve of Sierra Leone's civil society. Let me stress that it is essential for any democracy all across the globe that fact-based criticism is taken with respect and in good faith. Intimidation, punctuated by disinformation, has no place in a country whose leadership values freedom for expression and respects human rights. Now, after the elections, it is encouraging to see the establishment of a National Election Systems Review Committee. This could be the first step towards a comprehensive review of legal and operational aspects of elections. However, I would like to stress that the committee's success will hinge on its ability to bring together stakeholders representing all political and civil society spectra, on its ability to create the space of inclusion, trust, constructive dialogue, and consensus to bring about the adequate electoral reforms. I welcome that this committee aims to take into account the recommendations of electoral observers. I sincerely believe that the recommendations of our electoral observation mission can be a useful contribution to this important process. Let us all keep in mind that citizen observers and civil society organizations played a pivotal role in these elections. They monitored different aspects and stages of the process and offered voters a non-partisan assessment of elections. And now, looking forward, their engagement in the electoral reform process will be paramount. I sincerely hope that reform proposals, including those made by the review committee, will be the fruit of an inclusive, open, and plural dialogue. Our task in Sierra Leone as Election Observation Mission is now completed, and the process ahead is in your hands. We have handed over our report to the ECSL and other electoral stakeholders, while the EU delegation will follow up with interlocutors in relation to what comes next. Let me conclude by stressing that it remains crucial to further foster democratic processes with a strong political will of all stakeholders in the society, to promote inclusion and transparency, and most importantly, to build public confidence. As a friend and an ally to Sierra Leone, the EU stands ready to support Sierra Leonean stakeholders and people in those efforts and in the implementation of these recommendations. It was a privilege to lead this mission, and I would like to thank all Sierra Leonean people and stakeholders from across the political spectrum and from all walks of life for your professional cooperation and for their readiness to share your thoughts with this mission. Thank you very much.